Hey everybody, it's David R. Becker again here on Sunday morning to give you a nice little demonstration of plein air painting. Today we're plein air painting in Wauconda, Illinois. And so let me show you what we're painting today. We're going to be painting a street. Hopefully it won't rain again, but it does look like it's going to rain. So here's what we're painting. We're going to be painting this section sideways, horizontal. So see what we're going to be doing. Horizontal image, and we're going to make it look like it's raining, even though it's not raining yet, but hopefully it will not rain. It doesn't look like it's going to be raining, but we'll see what's going happening. So here we go. Let me just set this up real quick and get right down to it. And so we're again on the side of the street, right down Main Street in Wauconda, Illinois. So we're gonna show you how to again do a rain scene. It is not raining yet, and I hope it doesn't rain, because if it does rain, I don't have, like the last time when I was in Antioch, I don't have a place to sit underneath. So we're gonna have to cut it short if it does start raining. But hopefully it won't start raining, but I will be painting it like it is raining. So let me just put this down here a little bit so you can see everything. And we will, if you look at the scene right here, it's all the buildings, and when it comes to when you're doing a rain scene or something with overcast where the sun is not shining, I love the car coming right now. So if you see the car, see the lights in the street, and it'll be like the lights are in the street. And so we're going to try to have that look of it being this, when the street lights are on and the cars, you're going to have that into the street. And so I'm going to make everything wet. And same thing with the street. Again, I'm going to make it wet. And so everything that is an object is going to be my darks, basically. And so everything in the background, like back here, the trees, the buildings, they're all dark. And the people, if they're walking, we'll be making them dark too. So there's a lady walking across the street right now. And so let's just go right away and do our lights. I do have some paper towel this time, so that's kind of neat. Last time I didn't have it, and so we'll have a little bit in my hand. And so we're going to make the sky light, and I'll just make it a gray, a nice bluish gray, and keeping it light. And right away go right into the sky. Make it kind of a gray. I'm going to maybe use some ultramarine blue here. And then just, that's a little bit, let's make it a little bit stormy too. I'm going to go around my little light pole there, my light, because I'm going to make this more like it is raining. Actually, it's like raining outside. And we're going to again, do your lights first. I'm working on cold press Stonehenge Aqua. And look at the nice little, that's actually right here. I'm using, that's, what do you call it? The gray, the one, what is that gray? Payne's gray? I think it's Payne's gray. And so I'm going to let it go down, drip down, and go right into my street right away. I just want it kind of more rain looking, because it just an overcast without the rain doesn't look as good as if you have a little bit more of it looking like it actually is raining. And I put the car in there because I love when the cars have the light on, like the one that just passed by, and then put that into the street. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to do the sidewalk because that's my lightest parts. So definitely put your lightest parts in first. And so I'm going to put that in right away. I will be using some opaques to get that into the street, the light, because I didn't put masking fluid down or anything like that, or anything that's going to be, I'm keeping my lights light. But if there's going to be like a white back to the paper, I'm going to do that later with not with masking fluid, just by painting opaques. Let's see if I'm. Hopefully you can hear me well enough. The cars do get kind of loud, it seems like, when they drive past. I'm just right on the side. I'm actually in the parking area, so it's not in the go right over the buildings. And look at the nice raining dripping I have right there. It looks really like it's dripping, right? So I'm going to go down here. People ask me usually how long this takes. It takes usually about an hour to finish it, depending how fast and how fast it's drying. But usually 45 minutes to an hour, I'll get this done. I know you can ask questions on the thing, and I put on there. I can't look at what you guys are writing. If you are writing something, I will look at it later. A lot of times I look at it later, and I can answer then. I do like looking at the photo through the camera, sometimes the phone, because then I can see the big areas of light and dark. So now I've got all my lights, my street, and the darks in the street. Later on I'll put in probably even darker areas, but right now this is just the overall dark, the overall light that I'm putting in there. And then I'll get to my darks after that. Now I'm going to work the background trees. If you look way back there, see where the car is right now, or is my hand? Right here where the car is driving. See that back there? That's the very far distance. That's Main Street going into the area. There's a gas station down there way back here. But I'm going to blur that out a little bit because I don't want to have that so dark, because I want that to really sit back. So I'm going to really set it way back there. And I'm going to make it gray more than green, because I'm going to use my greenery up on front. And so I can still make it green, but just very gray green. I'm just going to put that back there. Oh, I just went right over the flag, the American flag. I'll have to put that in with white paint again. And then this building right here, I can go around and just put the trees back there. Again, blur it out because it's way in the distance. I don't want it to be coming way forward. So, and there's an American flag right here, which is stuck on the pole, but I'm bringing it out. And this is a good way of, like the car is going to be dark, and so I can go over the car, and I can go over all this stuff here, make it kind of grayish, and make it, again, make it a lot less light, make it a lot lighter than it is, because otherwise you're just going to bring it too far forward. We want to set it way back. We want to set it way, way back there. And there's going to be a tree in front of this. And so I'm just kind of going in here and getting the look of those trees way in the distance. I'm going around things that I like, this right here. I'm going to keep that a little lighter because there's flowers right there in the pots right there. And here's a building. This will be covered with tree branches and leaves. Work your big areas first. Always remember to work your big areas first. And then, again, because I want it to look like it's raining, and I want it to be blurry, and so that's the one way of doing it, is making things blurry. Blurring things up. And then make things a little bit darker right here. Way in a distance back here, I'm going to kind of make that. And since I'm getting darker as I come forward, I can go right over things. Go right over things, and then you make it darker as it comes forward. So you just go right over that with a darker dark. Alright, and so rooftop here, we'll make that a gray. This is like, I don't know, this is like a court building or something over there. Some kind of political building over there. Rooftop. Oh, it's this building right here, actually. Oops. Rooftop. Again, always go for your big areas first. Big areas, light to dark. So if you do your lighter parts, then when you do your dark parts on top of them, they come out right on top of them. So they're fine to have it dark. I squint my eye, and this building is light, and so, but the windows, looking into the windows, it's dark, and so, well, let me just get this big area over here first done. Like I said, always get your big areas done first. And this is going to be this building right here, the Bulldog Grill. So I'm just going to, there's the roof, I'm just going to bring this down. And see, I'm getting darker and darker as I go along. And by this time, it's actually a little breezy here, so it's kind of like windy. And so that's kind of good because it's drying my paper a little bit faster than, it's good because it's like very damp out today because of the rain and overcast, and it feels like it's going to rain, but I don't think it's going to rain. That's a really good thing. And so I'm going to take this and do the front of it, do the front of the building, using my big brush. Let's make that a little bit more red. A little more, this is light red by Holbein. Holbein makes a light red, it's called light red, which is more of a terracotta type of burnt orange look. And then the sign itself, this was at one time, I think, a really red banner. Like their awning was very red. And Bulldogs, it's the team name of the high school here, but also the high school I went to in Fox Lake is also the Bulldogs. So Wauconda and Fox Lake Grant High School was always the Bulldogs. You know, both of us were Bulldogs, the team name. So go down here, bring this down. We can go right over the door here because it's going to be darker. Again, anything that's going to be darker later, just go right over it. Go right over it. The front of the building is no different from the side because there is no sun out, and so we make it all the same, and then we'll cut it out. And you can also, since I want the street to be wet, I'm going to be putting this color into the street right away. The street is not wet, but I'm making it wet. It's my artistic license. I can do whatever I want, and so I just like the look of things being wet a lot more than when they're dry. I'm gonna take my smaller brush now, and so I'm gonna start from the background and work these buildings. And I squint my eye a lot. I squint my eye a lot because I need to see the lights and darks. And for this, I'm gonna wait until this dries so I'm gonna put more of a red there to match the red flowers here and the red chairs in front of this place. There's a few red chairs. And we'll put that in there. So again, but that I'll do that when I start doing a little bit more details. Right now I'm still trying to get big buildings going on here. And again, we're not doing it so detailed. We're not hyper-realism. We're not doing that kind of painting, or we're making it really realistic, like a photograph. We're making it more of a painting, more of an outdoor sketch. It's not so much an urban sketch. I noticed that with urban sketching, it's more about the drawing. They do a lot of drawing, and they really do it with pen and do just a little bit of the watercolor on top of it. But it's more about the drawing end of it. This is more about the paint of. I'm painting a lot more than. So now let's get these big trees in. Foliage, I think. If I do that, yeah, let's get some of these trees back here. The trees on the side here. So I'm scumbling. I'm taking my brush and taking it across the paper very quickly. And this textured paper, if I just go really lightly over it, you see then the texture from the paper. And I'm making it green, even though you guys know I don't like green that much, but it is green. I'm just using more of a gray green though, because that's what it is. It's not so vibrant green. And here we're gonna just put this, wind's kind of picking up. Put your hand across it and see, again, I'm using the side of my brush. I'm not using like the tip, I'm not painting with it. I'm using the side of it to capture the texture off the paper. There's a light here too. And there's little branches in here. Just put those in there real quick. the tree, and as they come forward, get darker, and so it's more about darkness of the branches. And again, you see how I am working it from light to dark and getting all my darks, big areas of darks after I put in my lights. And there's this tree back here. Put a couple branches in there, and there's the trunks of the trees too. But again, this is the farther back one, and then I'll put these in front. And anytime I want to lose the edge, I kind of blur it. Because the best is to lose edges at times. That way you don't have to paint everything. And it's almost like the camera is out of focus, is what you want to do on some of the things. The cars back here, I'm going to put them in. We have a little gazebo way back there. There's a little gazebo, which, it's too far away to actually give it detail. So I've been doing these now to practice for my Plein-air fest when I go in September to Grand Marais. We're doing a Plein-air fest, and so I'm just practicing a little bit. And I call this my morning run Plein-air painting. I usually run after I do this, and so I'm all dressed up there, ready to do like my long run on Sundays. So doing that afterwards. And so I have to find a place here in Wauconda. There's a park not too far away. Now all this dark over here will be going into the street, and so let's just put that right into the street. So we'll take a little bit of the grayish green, and again, this is some of this foliage a little bit darker. And I'm going to put the darks in. This is my middle tone dark, so not my darkest darks yet. And use my bigger brush. And again, I know what it looks like when it's raining because of when I did the one in Antioch, I know what it looks like, and so sometimes that's experience, knowing what things look like, getting out there enough to know what happens when it does rain. And I like that look, and so if you've done it a couple times, remember how you did it, remember what happened. Underneath the cars is usually really dark. There's a shadow underneath the cars. And you can kind of look and see right when it is like this, overcast. But think of it as like a lake. Like if it's wet, a wet lake, how does it reflect? How does it reflect into the street? Because it's water on top of the pavement, and some parts is thicker and thinner. And so you would get that look of the street being a lake. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if that makes sense. And so I'm just gonna, I'm picking up the darks so this building over here is a little bit of this warmth also, so I'm gonna put a little warmth in there. Right away put that into the street, and now it's wet, and so it gets nice soft edged. I want soft edges. And this definitely should be darker. Same color, you can do it like from the top here, but I'm just going to make it a little bit darker. And there's the sidewalk rail. And there's a Wauconda police just drove by. So I guess it's okay that I'm standing here. I'm not totally in the street, I'm just in the parking part of the street. Here there's a tree that I'm going to be putting in there, so I know I can put that in there now. And I may put a person in here, so let's put that in there too right away. So again, a lot of times you make things up too. I mean, you have to sometimes if you're not getting exactly what's happening there that you want to have happen. So now I'm going to take a little bit of the green and do this foliage in the front here. This is a little bit brighter green because this is closer to me, and it's actually lightening up right now. The sun's going to come out in a second. We don't want that. We don't want the sun to come out right at the moment. That changes everything. If I start seeing the sun, then They'll change the whole look of everything, the colors and everything. They change, but you have to go with what you started with. You can't all of a sudden then change it and make it a light scene. We'll keep it nice and dark and rainy looking. That's the one thing about doing plein air. You don't chase the sun. You don't chase the light. You just can't. You got to, whatever you start with, that's what you got to kind of end with. I kind of look at my camera, look at the value studies. Kind of, some people do a value study. I don't do a value study, and the thing is, I just memorize the value study. So I memorize it in my head. What's going to be happening? What's light is light? What's dark is dark? And then keep that in my head. Figure it out. And now I'm making these darks around like the signs and stuff, and trying to still make it look like leaves of the tree, but it is negative painting. Like there's a little banner right there and the pole right there for the pole is going to be black, so we just go right over the pole right here. That's fine, but the banner is lighter. Put some yellow in there. Goes right against the tree here. And here's a light on this side too. And you kind of see where I stumble. I use it so that you can see through parts. I don't want to make it so much that you can't see through it. You got to see through a little bit. And here, I may go around this part of the light, because I may put the lights on. And that way it'll look a little bit lit up. So I'm bringing it down here. Tree branches, and pretty much cover up my light post or my lights that's hanging there. So I don't know what that looks like now. I have to make that up. And some of this I'm going to wet and make it not so hard edged, because again, getting some lost edges and getting things to where they're like look wet and soft edged is part of the thing where it looks more realistic. Because not everything should be in focus. You know, when you're looking up there and you're seeing things in the with your eyes, and you're looking up there, yes, it's in focus. But as the painter, you don't want everything in focus, because you want to. This is my center of interest right in this area, so I'm going to kind of make it so that some of the parts in here will be a little bit tighter and more contrasty, more color, so that your eye does look right there. Let's get the dark. Let's put our red in there for the awning. So I'm gonna put my red in here for the awning, and I'm making it a little bit redder than it is, because I think that used to be really red, but the sun bleached it out. And so I'm bringing it back to where it was when they first put it up. I'm not going to spell out the name on there. I could do that later on if I wanted to with white paint, but I'm not going to do that here right now. I'm just going to make it look very, very wet. Again, it should be raining is what is. I'm trying to get the look of things raining and being very, very blurry. I want a lot of blurriness to this. So I'm giving these parts a little bit more detail, because again, this is my center of interest right here, and I'm getting darker as I go along here, and it gives it a look like, you know, of the building. Here's the windows. The windows are darker usually, and they're reflective of what's outside here. Sometimes you get the colors that are on the outside. There is trim and stuff, but I'm not going to, again, worry too much about that. It's too detailed for me to worry about that kind of thing. I'm going for the bigger parts of it. There's a wall right here, I just noticed, and that's going to have to be, let's make that the warmth again. Let's make that a little more red. You notice how I'm getting a little bit darker now. I'm making things dark because this is my middle tone darks, and my dark darks are coming in now to play. And then the final will be our really detailed darks. These are our big darks and middle tones, and then I'll put in my detailed darks at the end. So basically 3 steps, 3 stages usually to a painting. A watercolor is the lights, the medium dark, large area medium darks, and then the detailed darks. And so now I'm just looking for big areas of dark. What are big areas that I can do that make it look, or I can use my big brush. I'm not using my detail brush yet. And so the actual trunk of this tree is dark. There's some dogs. Dogs growling here. Put this coal in right there. And some of these it's doing it while it's wet, but that's okay. It makes it blurry. And I don't mind that. I'm going to have to use my smaller brush now because I'm working in my center of interest area here, and I want to get some things going in there. There's just shadows and the little, there's a bunch of chairs over here, and I'm just going to put them all in together as one. I'm not doing each individual chair, I'm just doing the overall shape of all these chairs. And it's dark. And there's pole right here. There are some lights back here too. Here's the baskets for the flowers. There's a car back here. And so basically I'm just doing the shape of the car. Let's put this tree in here. You black things in until they're the large areas, and then you just get more and more detailed as you go along. One thing about cars, this week I figured out that basically there's 3 or 5 colors to all the cars. Like there's only 5 colors, and it's black and white, and red and blue and gray, or silver. So those are the 5 colors that you can use on a car. Basically, if you look, and there's different shades of blue, different shades. Yes, yeah, every once in a while you'll see a yellow one or a lime green one, but that's very rare, very rare. And if you watch all these cars go by, they're one of 5 colors. So just think of your car colors of one of the 5 colors. Like I said, black, white, gray, which is also silver, and red and blue. Those are basically. So burgundy car is also just in the red. But I was just checking that out because you're always checking things out to see what colors you use in a painting. And so, hey, that's all you got to do is use one of those 5 colors for your cars. And of course, being that a lot of times they're reflective, they're going to reflect things around it. Like they're going to reflect the roof or the sky. They're going to reflect the sky in there. Depending on what, if it's red, then it's towards a red car. Here I'm putting in the darks now of the wheels. Basically, they're cubes with wheels on them. And I know now there's a bunch of them parked over there, but when I was drawing this in, there's only one parked there and one driving. So we stick with what we had when we draw it in. We don't all of a sudden follow again, chase it, unless you feel that it needs it, and later on, that's fine. Put it in. A little shadow underneath the car then. And then we are going to be putting in reflections for the car. And then we're going to put white for the lights that are on. I'll put the lights in there in a little bit. And there's a tree over here too. The trunk of the tree comes down. I'm kind of jumping around. I should be jumping around quite as much as I am, but I just got to realize that I don't want to get too detailed right from the get-go. Otherwise, you lose the big parts, the big value pattern that I talked about before. That has to be part of it. Always think of your value pattern. number one most important thing is your drawing. You know, of course, I spent a little bit of time on my drawing when I got here, and then after you get your drawing done, then you're going into making sure you have the right value pattern, what's dark and what's light. And basically my sky and everything else in here, all this stuff, it should be darker than the sky in the street. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna get my big value pattern. You have to have your value pattern. It is the most important thing. So my background doesn't seem to be dark enough, and so I've got to go back into that real quickly. I'm going to go back into the background. You can never stray away from the composition of the value pattern. That has to be kept on at all times. Let's look at the camera, see if there's anybody still here. Alright, that's not too bad, not too bad. Let me get a little bit more of the background done again. A little bit more of the background to darken it up a little bit. I'll go around these flowers here. I'm not going to make it quite as dark as a tree because, I don't want it that dark. But I do want the illusion, though, that this is the items in the picture will be the darks, and basically the street and the sky are our lights. That's simple. That's how simple I'm keeping the value pattern. Always keep your value pattern very simple. Don't have to think of it as, oops, sorry, just had a bee fly around my neck. I need to darken this side of this building too. I think I'm going to darken this side a little bit. Even the roof is a little bit darker. And then we'll bring that down and make the side a little bit darker than the front, though it's opposite that. But we can do whatever we want. And again, this, I think it would be better to make the side a little bit darker. Morning. There's windows in here. And then the red chairs in front here. Again, I'm simplifying things up to where, you know, there's the back of the chair. The backs are all together. And then the seat itself, I'm just going to put the seat in. And then I'm using a small brush to put some of the darks in, like the legs and the table. There's some tables back here. And because this is all wet, I can't do line, but that's okay again. And then right away, since the street is wet, put that into the street. You know, take it and get it right down into the sidewalk. And you could always go to a point where what you're doing is making it thick, and you can make it where you feel like, let's say this is a startup for a gouache painting where you use a little bit thicker paint. You can do that too. You know, there's no reason you can have to limit yourself to just doing watercolor. If you feel like, you know what, I'm going to use a thicker paint, I'm going to use a gouache and make it thicker, or even go with acrylic right on top of this. You know, there's no rules. You know, you do whatever you have to make the painting look good. My small round rigger to get some of the fine details in here now, because I'm going to leave a lot of this really loose like this, only to keep it that way so I don't get really tight. You know, I don't want to get really tight in some areas. Again, it'll make it, it's just an interpretation of what I see out there. It's not, again, it's not a hyper realistic looking image. You know, it's not like I'm in my studio. I can't do really fine stuff, and because of just the conditions that you're out here, and just, you know, drying faster if the sun's out, or not drying at all because it's a little rainy. putting in some of the details. See, I'm just getting some of these details in here. And I'll put the American flag in here. Get the reds. It's hanging. It's like it's caught on this thing, and so and we'll put the nice bright blue. Put the blue in here. And there's another flag over here. Those actually work really well in designing your painting. A lot of times it's nice to put them in there because it's just a little feature of your center of interest that really works out well. So don't be afraid of putting the American flags in there. Good morning.
You don't mind if I just take a look at what you're doing?
Nope, nope.
Beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
You got a couple cars in there, huh?
Yep. Get the wheels in.
Very good.
Oh, thanks.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
And let's get the tree back in here. See, now I've got the... It's nice when you actually come and make things soft edged and stuff, and then you come back in and you tighten those little things up. Makes it come together. And like here, I can make some of this foliage that first it was really lighter, and now I'm going to do some really dark foliage, especially around the flag. And I'll negative paint the flag. Let's put this line in there. Again, this would be my center of interest. I don't mind getting in here and getting a little bit more detail in some of this areas over here because it is my center of interest. I'll be putting some red in there too. Got some beautiful flowers in there. Don't know what kind of flowers they are, but they're red. I'll put those in there. Some dark greens again to negative paint. Actually, there's this light over here, and actually this pole is a lot darker than this. I mean, the pole is very dark. Let's just put that coming down. Notice how I'm keeping I'm saving all my darks for this area contrast again because that's where I want my center of interest to be. So I'm saving it all for this area. Got a garbage can right behind this thing, which is really a garbage can, and there's a bike rack right here, around the circle bike rack. Keep it loose. Don't be over tight. Don't think you need to make it look like a photograph. Really, when you're outside, just keep it loose and just go for the big lights and darks. Really, that's a secret, basically, of painting outdoors, is keeping it loose. Don't over think you have to put everything in there. People see too much when they're out there. Beginners always see way too much stuff out here. You know, there is a lot of things out here that you can see and you can put in, but again, work for the big edges, big areas. Work for the big areas, get them in first, and then little by little you can look for what you need to, leave it really loose, and what parts of it come in and really get in there tight with things. Like now I'll put this pole back here just to give me more dimension. I won't make it as dark as the other ones here because again it's farther back here, so I'll put this light in here real quick. American flag off of this one too, and a little banner. So and this one I don't have to make colorful because it's farther back. Now, just put little rectangular shapes back here to make it look like there's things happening back there, but it's so far away, I don't want to be able to see exactly what's going on back there. Now with the cars, the windshield usually is dark, right? So you make the windshield really dark. And it's reflective a lot of times. And then a lot of times the things on the car, like the metal or the grill, is dark. And just look, I mean, just look out there, you can see it. I'm scumbling a bunch of stuff, but again, don't want things too detailed. And even the lines in the street actually work out really well for perspective. Get those in there. Help the perspective out a little bit. We're getting close, guys. There's a few more minutes and we're gonna be done. Again, if you have questions, just put them out there and I will look at them later. I cannot read and paint at the same time. So just get them out there. Yeah, put this a little dark there. Again, this is Wauconda, Illinois. Not from the movie, not from the Marvel's movie, Wauconda, but let's put a little darker in here. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be going in with a little bit of white paint. I'm going to start using a little bit of white paint in here now to get in there. And oh, I forgot that lamp too. There's another lamp right there that's going to be actually really good to put right there. Lamp posts and stuff like that are always fun to put in because they're dark against the light and they're neat details that work well for a picture. Let me make the street again. I'm gonna make this a little bit darker over here, and I want some of the foliage to be a little bit darker, which means that I've got to make the street a little bit darker. Taking a dark green, put it in there a little bit more. And again, that means let's do this in the street a little bit more. Bring that down, reflect it into the street. And also you can make lines from where the cars drive. I didn't get the white of the street markings, so I'm gonna do that with white now. I'm gonna go in there with white and just have some fun with the white. And this is opaque, and so yes, it's more like gouache. But when you're plein air painting, sometimes I don't have time to sit there and put masking fluid down. So just use white paint and use it thick. And so for the headlights, I'm gonna make them really bright. I'm just gonna bring them right down into the street. And I put them on in places like here and over here, and I just put lights. And maybe just put them into the street here and there. Maybe there's little spots here and there, and just bring them into the street a little bit. I'm gonna make this red, this awning, or not this banner. I'm just gonna make it red because I do have some red in there already. And then this plants, to get some green in there. Get some green in here. Let's gray this out because this area here would be a little bit, oops, too much green in my brush. Let's get this a little darker and get that into the ground too. Take my big brush and whisk it away. Again, making it look wet. And then let me put the crosswalk lines in there. Right here, there's like these crosswalk white lines. And then I can, on this side, they don't have them. They just have lines like this. But I like these big, huge things that they put in there. And so I kind of like that better. So I'm going to be putting in big crosswalk white lines. Little reflections into the windows. And I think we're going to call it quits, guys. So off to my run. So let me just focus in on it a little bit to show you. Oh man, look at my towel is really wet. Yeah, look, one more thing. I just noticed that the foliage on this should be a little bit darker to make more contrast in here. So I'm going to scumble a little bit of this in here, some of the foliage a little bit darker. Around the flag again, and just to give more contrast here against the building. Alright, and then we go there. I'm gonna put in I'll put in the name in there later. Alright, so there we have it, guys. Let me take the close-up shot so you can see it close up. It'll be another fun Sunday morning run, plein air. So there we have it. So thanks again, guys, for stopping by and watching my Sunday morning plein air. And we will see you next time. All right. Any questions you have, just please put them into the comments section, and I will answer them when I get back and look through them. All right. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.